This is the Iron Troll Show. I'm Zelio High.
And I'm Biatch. Welcome to part 2 in our series, all about the tea.
So, where in the world is Monica the Avatar?
Monica is not in Virginia. It looks like some people may have seen a tweet of ours saying that Monica's real first name was Kenya and her maiden name was Gibson. So then they used their super Googling skills and found a politician in Virginia named Kenya Gibson. It's literally the first name that comes up in a Google search. But since the Virginia Kenya Gibson is married, odds are that she wouldn't also have Gibson as a maiden name.
Kenya Gibson? I don't think so. This is what's called a fail dox. It's safe to say that writing articles for All About the Tea under several different names, plus running a regular live show on YouTube, is a full-time job. The Virginia Kenya is a politician, so she wouldn't have the focus, the free time, or a schedule to blog and do live shows as much as Avatar Monica does.
And isn't Monica a conservative on Twitter? The Kenya in Virginia is a progressive liberal, and the woman we believe to be Monica is a registered Republican, so no, Monica is not in Virginia.
As we mentioned in part 1, All About the Tea wasn't the first blogging experience for Monica. If you've checked her early blog posts on All About the Tea, they're the same ones she wrote at TV Fishbowl, and the blog posts on both sites had the author name of Dr. Seuss. A couple of the early blog posts by Seuss were part of an article series under the heading of Countdown to Lockdown, and were about the Judices going to prison. On All About the Tea, Seuss actually had a countdown clock counting down the days before Teresa would go to prison.
Seuss was a little obsessed with hating on Teresa. Besides purchasing the All About the Tea domain, Monica also bought the countdowntolockdown.com. It's likely this was going to be dedicated to bashing Teresa and her family. For some unknown reason, she also bought allaboutthetea.com and used that to blog about reality shows and bash people instead, while Countdown to Lockdown was repurposed for true crime articles.
Monica actually purchased the Countdown to Lockdown domain a couple days before she bought All About the Tea. It looks like she went all out and purchased a dedicated server so she'd have an internet IP address all to herself. This is like somebody buying a house instead of renting an apartment. You don't have anybody else at that address except you. So in reality, All About the Tea was actually hosted by Countdown to Lockdown, and mail sent to All About the Tea was really delivered through the Countdown to Lockdown mail server.
Oh, look at the email contact for Countdown to Lockdown. That's the same email Monica used as her contact email on All About the Tea. If y'all have a blog hosted by Blogger or WordPress, you can buy a domain and point it to your blog so it becomes a .com and looks like a real website. This is what Monica did. Monica's countdowntolockdown.com domain was directed to her Blogspot blog, and that Blogspot blog was called Daily Countdown to Lockdown. There was only one blog post ever written for Daily Countdown to Lockdown, and the author was none other than Dr. Seuss. Y'all will find a link down below to an archive of Daily Countdown to Lockdown.
The Dr. Seuss profile on Daily Countdown to Lockdown was linked to Google+, which Google has since discontinued, so you can't see the page anymore. But as I recall, the Google Plus page belonged to someone who just used the initial M and MN on their Google posts. The blog post written by Dr. Seuss was about a murder that took place in Texas, 15 miles from where we believe Monica lives. Curiously, that same article appears on another website called crimeinvestigator.com, but the author is Paul Lupitas. There's also another article on that site by Lupitas about another Texas murder. Even more curiously, the name Paul Lupitas doesn't appear anywhere in a Google search except on these articles.
Why, it's almost as if Monica were using an alias. How shocking. Y'all can view the Crime Inspector site by clicking on the link down below.
And then on top of all that, All About the Tea and CrimeInvestigator.com share the same unique Google AdSense number. This number is assigned by Google AdSense so they can keep track of ad clicks on a blog and know how much to pay the blogger. That's how bloggers get paid. Many blogs can have the same Google AdSense number, but that AdSense number belongs to just one person. In this case, Monica.
These other websites are important because they help confirm that Dr. Seuss and Monica are the same person. When you research someone, you want as much verification as possible. You need to double-check your findings as much as you can. You check, double-check, and then you recheck your double-check. That way you don't go too far down a rabbit hole. Or post the wrong person's picture on Twitter without their permission and get yourself suspended. But I digress.
With an extremely high probability that Dr. Seuss and Monica were the same person, that gave us another alias to check for identity clues. At the time, this was back in 2018, we already had a few clues about Monica given to us by people associated with her during her fishbowl days. We knew she'd supposedly moved to Texas, had a retail business that failed, and had some legal problems. But still, trying to match a real person with these clues was like looking for a needle in a haystack. We needed more clues.
The best place to look for identity clues for an alias is in the early days of its use, when the person might slip up and say something stupid, personal, or revealing about themselves. In this case, that meant TV Fishbowl, where Seuss first got started, was the best bet. Like a lot of websites, Fishbowl used Discuss for comments, and Seuss chatted a lot with her readers in the comment section. Even though her Discuss account is locked, her comments show up in the Wayback Machine archives. You can look at the comments yourself by using the link below to go to the Dr. Seuss author page at the TV Fishbowl archives. There are comment sections on each article page, and the handle Dr. Seuss used to make comments with was Seussaroo.
We dug through the comments, and not only did we find a few gems, we struck gold. We'll go into what we found, plus do the big reveal in part 3 of All About the Tea.
And that's our time for today.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.